Welcome to episode 103 of the Epilogue Lady podcast. My name is Bente and I'm coming to you from Vesterålen, northern Norway, where I live with my husband, my oldest son and 3 cats. You can find me on Instagram as Arctic Crafts, on Facebook as Arctic Crafts by Bente, and on Ravelry as Arctic Crafts 65. There's also a Ko-fi page where you can support me and the podcast. You find links to everything on my Instagram and also down below. This is mostly a podcast about yarn and knitting. There is also some Dungeons and Dragons thrown in, but I'll try to keep that at the end of the podcast. So those of you who are not interested can stop before I start with that. As you can tell, that's sort of a new twist on my intro because I realized I've been talking quite a bit about Dungeons and Dragons and it's not interesting for a lot of you. So I'm going to hold back on all that and then I'll talk a bit about it at the end of the podcast. And as you saw at the beginning of the podcast, I put in a little montage of the day trips we've been on so far. The feedback I've gotten from you before is that you love seeing the landscapes around Vesterålen and Lofoten, so I decided to treat you to a little montage of that. Our last day trip was yesterday to Henningsvær, and unfortunately I forgot to charge my mobile before we went, and the phone charger we have in our car is really slow, so I couldn't record as much as I wanted to yesterday, but it is what it is. And that's it for now, I guess. I'll just start talking about the knitting first. I actually have an FO. The Fairground socks by K. Jones of the Bakery Bears. I've finished them. And I love them. The yarn is a German commercial sock yarn. I think it's called Active. I haven't got the yarn band with me. And as you can tell, one of them has a grey toe, the other one has a purple toe. I ran out of the purple, so I didn't have enough purple left for the second toe. I could have frogged this toe and made both grey, but why would I do that? Because I'm going to have these myself, so I can live with the fact that one of them has a grey toe. So that's my only FO. I don't get to knit as much, both because of the heat and because I have my boys here and we do stuff together, so I don't have the same amount of time to use for knitting. And my knitting mojo is sort of... I want to cast on another sweater, but I have to finish my Prairie cardigan first. I've decided I want to finish that first. But let me show you my second whip before we start talking about the Prairie cardigan. I'll show you this one first. It's my Wizardy socks. Also by K. Jones of the Bakery Bears, and this is my entry to the Knitters and Critters make-along. And I started the second sock all over again yesterday because I realized that I had done something wrong. They didn't look the same. That's what happens when you think you know a pattern and you try to do it from memory and you couldn't be bothered to check the pattern, so I did it the wrong way. So I had to start the second sock over again yesterday. And if you hear some sounds, that's a cat outside the window. He might jump in the window, by the way. And then I had to put this on a pause. One thing I should I should have told you this at the top. I'm a true professional. I told you last time that if the winner of the giveaway from episode 100 didn't contact me before this episode, I would draw another winner. And I've done that. And the new winner is Wild Cottage Knitting in Ireland. So if you can please send me a message on Instagram or an email telling me your postal address, and I'll get the price sent over to you as soon as possible. So that's that. It's even at the top of my show notes, and I forgot to say it at the beginning. I'm sort of all over the place today because we went on a day trip yesterday, and today we're actually walking into town to have dinner in the local pub. We decided, why not walk? It's about half an hour walk, and it's a nice day today. It's the perfect day to go for a walk, by the way, because it's overcast today, and as soon as it's overcast here, it gets about between 15 and 17 degrees, and that's the perfect temperature if you're going to walk for a bit. So that's what we're planning on doing today. And after all that, I shouldn't call this the epilogue lady, I should call this the tangent lady. I'm going to show you my Prairie cardigan. I'm not sure what that was. Somebody is out in the hallway doing something. I've actually gotten quite a lot of work done on my Prairie cardigan because I finished the first sleeve. And I'm this far on the second sleeve. I've started color 2. And sleeves tend to go quickly, so I only have the second sleeve left, and I'm probably going to be wearing this at Unravel in February. So I should be easy to spot, unless I knit another sweater. Probably I'm going to knit several sweaters before then. If I knit something really colorful, I'll be wearing that, so people can spot me. If people want to find me at Unravel. That's probably a bit presumptuous, but some of you might be going to Unravel and you might want to talk to me. So, but that's the Prairie cardigan. And then I have some acquisitions to show you. I've gotten the Knitical Roll Yarn Club, but those I'm not showing you because they're a mystery club. I'll talk about them when I use them. Like in the Prairie cardigan, I have a colorway from the Knitical Roll Yarn Club from last year that I'm using in that. But because they're a mystery club and some of you might have really slow postal service, I'm not showing you those. I also got, and this has a bit of a story, because of the prices, because it's so expensive for me now to order yarn from abroad. I decided to check out what I could find of high-end Norwegian yarn stores that sell hand-dyed yarns. I knew about a yarn store that sold a La Bien-Aimée, and I decided to check those out, for maybe they had other kinds that would be cheaper for me to buy in Norway than ordering from abroad. And I found Brooklyn Tweed in that online shop. And that's a yarn I've always wanted to try, and it was on sale as well. So, this is what I got. It's Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. They're worsted. And look at this color. It's gorgeous. And I ordered a sweater quantity of this. And I know what I'm going to knit with this. I'm going to knit myself another Felix. Because it's a beautiful yarn. It's lots of stuff happening in the yarn itself. So I don't want to knit something with lots of patterning. So I'm going to knit myself another Felix sweater with this yarn. And I also got something else I looked for in Norwegian web stores, is something I've been wanting to try, and it's Earth Yarn's unique sock. I actually found that as well in a Norwegian web store, and this is the colorway. They didn't have a lot of colorways in stock, so but I wanted to try it, so I went with this one. it's got lots of purples in it, and purple is one of my favorite colors, so that's the one I got. And I haven't got anything coming when it comes to yarn, because now I have I think it's 3 or 4 or maybe 5 sweater quantities hanging about that I want to knit up. Besides, I'm going to save up yarn money for Unravel in February, because I have a plan for Unravel. I know this is maybe a common plan, and people tend to maybe everything goes haywire when you get to the festival, but I plan on, I'm going to look at the vendor list and decide what is going to be my priorities, and then I'm going to just buy sweater quantities, and I'm going to make sure that I buy sweater quantities. I might buy the odd single skein, but mainly sweater quantities, because I can't afford to buy that online. A single skein here and there I can afford, even though they're really expensive for me, but sweater quantities, no. So I'm going to make sure that I get sweater quantities. Nobody knows what vendors will be there. Nobody knows yet. Hopefully some of my favorite English dyers will be there. But anyways, why do I keep talking about things that are happening in February? I think it's because I'm so excited and kind of terrified at the same time. I'm not too crazy about people in places, as I've told you before, and I think that's the reason why I'm sort of terrified as well, and not only excited. That was the thing yesterday when we went to Henningsvær, because Lofoten in summer, and particularly places like Henningsvær and Svolvær, places like that, they're really crowded in summer. They're sort of tourist traps. So everything comes with a premium, everything is a bit more expensive, and there's a lot of people all over the place. So, but hubby has promised me we're going back to Henningsvær in the fall, because I love Henningsvær. It's really beautiful. They've got art gallery, Lofoten Wool has a shop there. So there's lots of things to do in Henningsvær, but when there's a lot of people around, I kind of get a bit panicky. So we didn't spend a lot of time in Henningsvær yesterday, but the boys got really bored as well, so there's not a lot for them to do. So we're going back in the fall, just me and hubby. And what's left then is actually my Dungeons and Dragons. So if you're not interested in that, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully I'm going to be able to do a longer episode. Hopefully I have more knitting to show you. I'll try to get some more knitting done. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. For the rest of you, when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, we started a new campaign. Because me and hubby wanted to start a new campaign when my oldest son moved in here, because he also plays Dungeons and Dragons, and we wanted to have a campaign together, the 3 of us. And in that campaign I'm a Ravenite barbarian called Gesh. My son is a warlock, a half-elf warlock, and my husband, in addition to being DM, he's got a Tabaxi monk. Those are the 3 characters that are fixed. And then my youngest is here for the summer, and he sort of hops in when he's here, and he's got a half-orc fighter named Thok. Thing is, he's level 10 because he got upgraded into level 10 because my previous campaign I kept leveling up without him being here, and the last time he was here in that campaign. Sorry about that. There's a cat trying to get in through the window. I have to take a break. And that was sort of hilarious, because the cat trying to jump in through the window is Harry. He's a bit overweight, and he's not able to jump in through the window, but he tried. So just relax. I let him in through the door. So now he's in the kitchen. Where was I? We were talking about the characters. And we leveled up. When we played last, we leveled up into level 3, because me and my oldest son were just started. So we're getting up to level 3. Hubby started us level 2, because he wanted us to get to know our characters a bit before we went into level 3, because you have to make a few decisions. And I decided to go with Wild Magic Barbarian. That's a critical role homebrew thing. For those of you who are watching campaign 3 with the Bell Cells, Ashton is a Wild Magic Barbarian. I know I said I didn't want to be a spellcaster for this campaign, but a Wild Magic Barbarian isn't a spellcaster as such. It's just that they're kind of a Chaos Barbarian, because when he goes into a rage, with my character, when Gesh, as it's called, goes into a rage, there's a Wild Magic table. I have to roll a d8, and then a table tells me what kind of side effect my rage has. And the thought of a chaotic barbarian really appealed to me. And it's only, I have to keep track of a table, and I have the table in front of me, so I can tell really quickly what kind of side effect my rage has. Not sure when we're going to play again. Hubby is the DM, so it's kind of his call, but we have everything, we have easy access to all the stuff we need to play, so we can do that on short notice. Hopefully we get at least one more session, hopefully 2, before my youngest son goes home. His character is just visiting. We just sort of happened to bump into him in a tavern. That's the normal place to bump into people in Dungeons and Dragons, by the way. Taverns. And he sort of joined us. He's going on a quest with us. And hopefully we get to finish that quest before he goes back. So that me and my oldest son's characters can keep on, go on their merry way, just the 2 of us, or the 3 of us really, because hubby also has a player character in addition to being the DM. That's sort of what I had to say about our campaign. Again, I think it's the best way to do this, because when I do it like this, and you know I'm going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons at the end, I don't have to explain a lot, because I suppose that the people watching this part of the podcast already know what I'm talking about. Because this isn't a how to play podcast, because there's a lot of those on YouTube. Tutorials. Critical Role has something called Handbook or Helper. That's also really a good resource if you're starting to play D&D. But I think D&D is one of those things you learn best while doing. So the best way to learn how to play D&D is to jump into a campaign with somebody. Preferably the start of a campaign, and preferably you're not the only newbie. Because if everybody is experienced and you have one player that has never done it before, people are different, but some people could be impatient. So if me and hubby started with a campaign where all of us were newbies, except for one player and the DM, of course. So it was a learning by doing thing, and that's the best way to start playing D&D, I guess. And It's absolutely possible to play D&D online. You just have to trust people when they roll the dice and call out what they rolled. That's the only thing about playing D&D online. You have apps and software to do proper D&D games online with graphics and everything. So that's also an option, but we prefer doing it in person. I'm ranting, or I'm babbling. I wasn't supposed to do that because I was going to be short today, because we have stuff to do and I need to edit this and everything. So that's it for both knitting and Dungeons and Dragons for this time. So I'm going to stop now, edit this, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye bye.